Michigan Liberation is a statewide network of people and organizations organizing to end the criminalization of Black families and communities of color in Michigan. We envision a state without mass incarceration, mass policing, and punishment. We envision a state with the best public education in the nation, single-payer health care, and thriving Black and brown communities. Here on the Respect the Rules podcast, we will lift up the stories and experiences of those impacted by mass incarceration, collective ties to the criminal legal system, and the frontline efforts to end mass incarceration.
Nelson the Mayan, you are the host of Cratedigger's Delight on AM 1700, Ypsilanti's premier radio destination for underground hip hop. Hey, what's up, Nelson?
What's up, Marjan? Good to be here. I'm excited to take part. A longtime supporter of Michigan Liberation, former employee, so I'm glad to be here.
I know, and I didn't even get a chance to finish. You come on AM 1700 every Friday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're broadcasting some of the flyest, fresh beats and rhymes over the airway, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it's like hip hop music, underground hip hop music, right?
Underground hip hop, all the newest, all the best, all the everything you want to hear when it comes to hip hop, especially underground. The people that on the up and coming that you need to hear. We got it all.
Good, great. And now, when you're not in the station, Nelson, it says here that you're active in the community, advocating for immigrant rights, restorative justice, and more. And you also used to be a part of the Michigan Liberation staff team, family, and you're a strong supporter. That's what we like to hear.
Phone canvassing the whole 2020 election season. That was a crazy time.
Wow, right. Oh man. But yeah, that is what's up. And during this time, and we'll talk about it as we talk about the upcoming elections, it's crunch time.
Oh yeah.
But the real thing is, this whole episode, we're calling it Real Talk with the Community, because one of the things I want people to understand is that we want people like yourself, Nelson, to come on, and this is not going to be the last time, you know what I mean? Because you're helping me work through all these little kinks and stuff, and that's the beauty of being part of the Michigan Liberation fam. We make mistakes, hey, whatever, but it's all good. And this is new to us. We just kicked off this podcast section or segment because we were finding that with all these interviews with media and sitting on panels, you only get so much time. You know what I'm saying, Nelson? And here, you're not edited. Well, at least not the nitty gritty part.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So please, everybody, you got a story to tell like me and Nelson, or you want to talk with us, make sure you contact us at media@myliberation.org. But anyway, Nelson, let's get started with the first thing at hand. And I got to put this one. I'm really excited about talking about this particular subtopic topic. The intersections of hip hop and progressive activism. Man, when you said that to me, I was like, Nelson's about to kick some knowledge or something. So
absolutely,
tell me what's on your mind as it pertains to that.
Knowledge and truth. Peace to all the gods in the earth. I think, hip hop has always been a very strong outlet and a way for everybody, I think especially Black and brown folks, to voice their truth and speak that truth to the powers that be. Whether you're talking all the way back in the day to KRS-One, or you're going, now to talk current day with the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Coles. It's always been a space where people have been able to vent their frustrations and speak out against the injustices in the system. And I think, there's been a lot of really nice intersections between, rappers and activists, rappers who are activists, folks, who find a lot of common ground in these spaces. And it's important that we continue to amplify that, especially in the modern day landscape. I think where a lot of hip hop it's a lot easier now that it's so commercialized and mass produced to kind of slip into just the very regressive kind of sounds and lack of substance in a lot of cases. But that's why we continue to amplify, and that's why I like to focus so much on the underground, because people like to say, hip hop is dead, now it's just corny and commercial and nobody talks about anything real. Everybody's cap. But I think if you explore, what's going on beyond just Billboard Top 200, what's going on, your Rap Caviar, Spotify playlist, whatever, you'll find that there is still a lot of substance and a lot of folks talking real stuff, and getting to the heart of these issues, while still making really good music,
Yeah. Now, it's funny you say all that, Nelson, because I've been hearing, because I love music just like you do. And a lot of people have questioned people in the genre of hip hop, R&B, or, it's like, why are people not doing more? You know what I mean? Like, they're questioning, like, okay, why, where is, like you mentioned, some of the people, KRS-One, or where is Chance the Rapper? Where are all these people when certain issues? Now, I know they have their own thing that they're working on and so forth, but a lot of times I think we put so much pressure on these artists to solve all the problems and the issues going on in the community.
No doubt. Yeah. I think, that's the curse of celebrity, the kind of double-edged sword is the fact that once you create a platform for yourself and, you are really using it to speak on the issues, everything you do is going to be scrutinized. So whether or not people think you're doing enough, or you're doing the right things, or saying the right things or the wrong things, you get the chance to speak out, but that's the thing. When you speak out, everybody hears it. So,
right. That's deep.
Mm-hmm. When people are as infatuated with kind of celebrity as we are in this culture, you kind of expect the celebrity to be doing everything and saying everything and taking care of stuff. And there is a certain degree, I think we do need to hold folks accountable and call them out on their BS from time to time. I think it's also unrealistic to say that, we got to expect, celebrity or a rapper who is known to be conscious and political to always get it right, or to always be at the forefront, like solving every issue. Because that's where community comes in. We got to do it together ourselves and not just wait for some celebrity or another to start speaking on something.
Right. And it's also interesting because, like, the next subtopic we're going to get into is the prison industrial complex, and how even that intersection of hip hop, it's been really I hate to say it, since COVID time, like 2020, sad on how many hip hop artists have been killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a growing epidemic, man.
And it's like either it seems like the road that they're going down, they're either going towards being murdered or jail or prison.
Yeah. Catching a charge. I read there's a kind of a statistic that always stays with me, and is that I read that of all deceased hip hop artists, about 50% of them died violently, through murder, manslaughter, that kind of thing. And no other genre has to deal with that to that degree, right?
Right.
So
I agree.
Unfortunately, I think a byproduct in many ways of or it's kind of a chicken and the egg situation almost, because oftentimes hip hop has been used as a medium to kind of, for folks, especially, you know, Black and brown folks and poor folks, to process and speak out on the violence, you know, we see in our everyday lives and in our communities, and as a way to try to call attention to that. But over the years, as hip hop has grown and become, you know, one of the most dominant genres of music like in the world, you know, that has also amplified the kind of both the fascination with violence that has been prevalent in hip hop, to the point where you know, a lot of the stuff we talk about comes life or death. You know, all these you know, rap beefs have a history of spreading from just being on wax to being in real life, and you know, taking the lives of artists who you know, were gone way too soon. It happened in the 90s with Big L, and you know, we can talk about today Nipsey Hussle, or shoot, there's King Von. There's way too many names at this point.
Exactly.
Of folks that we've lost.
Yes. And then, you know, as we get ready to talk about prison industrial complex, then even transitioning from, you know, hip hop and progressive activism, you know, you got people even from Detroit, like everybody's, you know, from, you know, White Boy Rick to, you know, Big Meech, you know, who's still incarcerated. But I don't know, you know, have you seen that series, TV series that 50 Cent did? I actually watched it.
Stars.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And I'm not sure when he's scheduled to get out, but you even have Nelson, and I would love for you to share how you played a role in, you know, just from an activist perspective and getting an opportunity to see someone get clemency, get out. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I remember we talked offline about that, and I would love for you to share that story and everything.
No doubt. Yeah, I think, you know, there's unfortunately a lot of intersection as well with hip hop incarceration, what, you know, folks dealing with it and using hip hop as a way to get, you know, to process the horrors of the system. And unfortunately, you know, it ends up incarcerating people too. You know, we're seeing it play out modern day. Everybody's afraid of catching a RICO charge now. And you know, the hip hop, you know, has long been speaking out against the prison industrial complex and mass incarceration and the way that it affects Black and brown communities. I'm always looking to, you know, provide that platform as well. I play lots of, you know, good conscious music that talks about the ways that mass incarceration has impacted Black and brown folks and poor folks across the country, because that's, you know, and experiences that I've lived as well. You know, as somebody who tries to stay active in the community, you know, I used to work corresponding with prisoners regularly, you know, trying to help them navigate the policies of the MDLC. I took an Inside Out course in my undergraduate, you know, trying to get my undergraduate degree at Wayne State. You know, shout out to the Inside Out program, all the good folks over at Wayne doing that work to kind of get people exposed and help them understand better the real impacts that it has in real life for folks. And it was really, that Inside Out course was very life-changing for me, very inspirational, because I found, you know, a classroom full of folks who had been through it and understood, you know, I think you know, a lot of criticism gets leveled at incarcerated people and saying that, you know, they just need to take responsibility for their actions, and they need to, you know, if you're not willing to do the crime, do the time, don't do the crime, all that kind of crap.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
But if you actually talk to folks inside, much more often than not, you will find that those people are on the front lines of kind of accountability. You know, you will. It is much more likely that you'll find somebody incarcerated who is going to be advocating for folks to try to take responsibility and change their lives than anybody on the outside. You know. And it's partially, you know, because they've had so much time to reflect, I think, but also, you know, the horrors of the system and trying, you know, teaching people like, was it really worth it, whatever I did to end up in here? Because now this system and, you know, has taken me away from my family, my community, and, you know, broken so many ties with those folks that I used to have, that now I understand that, you know, not only was it not worth it, you know, whatever it was, but also, you know, now we understand that the system is broken in and of itself, you know.
Right.
I learned more in those conversations with lifers and, you know, folks inside than I would have ever learned from, you know, sitting in a lecture hall listening to somebody kind of list off statistics about prison and you know, the way that affects our communities. And we became like a close group, you know, the group of us,
didn't somebody
the group
get
of students
clemency?
coming outside, and then the folks who are on the inside. And, you know, one of our members even ended up, you know, one of our inside classmates ended up being granted clemency.
Wow.
While we were, you know, taking the course together. And it was, you know, we'd be getting the weekly updates about how the case was going, and there was a lot of apprehension, you know, within the group, like, is this gonna, you know, is our brother gonna end up being freed? Is he gonna be able to rejoin his family and his community after being sentenced to life for a mistake he made when he was 17?
Wow.
And, you know, very fortunately, he was, and he got clemency, and he's out now. And, you know, I've spoken with him since. It was so good seeing him out in regular clothes, you know, outside that prison jumpsuit. And it was really touching just to see him walking around, you know, in the world. But unfortunately, you know, that's not the case for most people. You know, unfortunately, my friend was one of the lucky ones and not one of the folks who, you know, is representative of the majority of cases where people don't get clemency or don't get whatever kind of relief that they're trying to apply for. And it's a problem when he is the exception rather than the rule.
Wow. So, and this was all part of a class or a group, and wow, and you got a chance to interact with people who were actually incarcerated.
Yeah, well, we went inside, you know.
We went inside, and that
they couldn't go anywhere, so we went to them.
And I mean, that's real. That's real, because even doing this line of work, activism, Nelson, and getting involved with like the criminal justice system, and you know, being an abolitionist type of organization like Michigan Liberation, it's like easy to talk, but doing the work is so hard. This work is hard, and I can only imagine going into those facilities or the facility that you went into. I mean, you hear about the conditions. I mean, what was that like? I know you was talking about some of the people that you met, but what was like when you stepped foot into it in there? What was that like?
Yeah, we took our courses at Ryan Correctional in Detroit, which I think is now since that facility is now since closed, I believe. and a lot of my classmates and the other folks inside have been scattered to the wind. But we, and this was just a low security facility, honestly. So it goes to show, if this is like a low security facility, what it's like for folks in maximum, because right. We would go in, we'd take everything out of our pockets, of course, and we'd go through a metal detector. Sometimes we'd go through a pat down, all that, just to go to our class. And if you think that's a hassle, compare that to what our inside classmates had to go through, because they, informed us that just to go to class and learn and better themselves, they had to go through a full cavity search, full body search, stripped down naked. The guards checked them all over. And, it's really hard to go through something so invasive just to go to class. And, wow. We're talking about some older gentlemen too, folks who been around the block, and that it can be a struggle to have to submit to something so, invasive and dehumanizing every time you want to go to your weekly course.
Wow.
And they the guards gave us these little like clicker button kind of devices as like a distress signal, like if we ever feel like we're being threatened.
Wow.
Somehow, like, you press the button and guards will come in.
Did anybody click it? Did anybody?
No, nobody ever clicked it, because we were all like on the same page that we're probably more afraid of the guards than we are of anybody in our course.
Right. Dang, that is deep. That is really deep. I'm just amazed with that, because, Nelson, a lot of people, I commend all of you and your classmates, or for the ones who weren't incarcerated, taking, being a part of that, because there is this very negative, what I'm saying, association with people who are incarcerated. We look at them almost like they're animals. You were probably around people, like you said, who committed a crime at the age of 17, and now they're like 20, 30 years old. And you're like, and then probably you were around people who maybe went to jail for something like marijuana or whatever, drugs or something. Yeah. And it's like, gosh, one mistake or two mistakes, and it can cost you your life. And since I've been doing this work, I mean, and it will wear you down at times, because it's so, you see the injustice. And and that's what leads me to our next thing I want to talk about, which is the urgency of the upcoming elections, and even how that the prison system and just, oh my gosh, Nelson, the misinformation, the disinformation, as it pertains to people who are formerly incarcerated. Some people think they don't have the right to vote. Some people don't know what to vote for. Don't even know how to that you got to register, or that you can do an absentee ballot. I mean, what is your thoughts on that, y'all? I'm talking to Nelson. He's still part of the MyLib family. Once
Absolutely.
you join, you come to MyLib, you always a MyLibber. You know what I mean? But we're talking about the urgency of the upcoming elections, and we're doing this whole thing centered around real talk with the community. And I mean, Nelson, I know I thanked you 50,000 times already, but thank you for coming on, dealing with.
I'm happy to be here.
Technical bull crap, but this is real. This is real talk. But really, I want to talk about the upcoming elections with maybe like the 5 minutes that we got left.
Sure.
So I know time has been flowing by, but we can go over a little bit. That's the joy of doing podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts?
I think, these days I think this upcoming election really illustrates a lot of fundamental differences that we're at, as a nation. because, you know, there's at this point a significant portion of the population. There's a lot of candidates that are running now that are refusing to even acknowledge the results of the 2020 election and refusing to say that it was a fair and free election, you know, at the behest of Donald Trump. You have candidates who are pushing all these baseless fraud claims of voter fraud as a way to disenfranchise Black and brown voters and, you know, make it harder for us to participate in the electoral process. And, you know, just take a look at, you know, other states where they have like Republican governors and Republican legislatures, like Florida, for instance. They passed a law to make it easier for felons to vote. And then what do? You know, they immediately start chasing after folks who were trying to exercise their right to vote, and locking them up, claiming that there was voter fraud. You know, when the claim, it's just totally baseless and they're just using it to kind of drum up support and, you know, kind of strengthen their own BS claims about voter fraud. And you got to be afraid because the Black and brown people are coming and they're going to vote in their own people and they're going to change the whole country. You know, it's very fundamental, the differences we've seen, you know. In Michigan, we got candidate running for governor, Tudor Dixon, who wants to take away women's right to choose, who is, you know, advocating book banning and censorship in the classroom to try to take away teachers' ability to discuss with their students real topics about, you know, race and gender and sexuality and actual U.S. history, and instead, you know, teach this kind of whitewashed, homogenized version of history that doesn't line up with, you know, the facts. And it's a very fundamental, you know, the choice that we have, whether or not we want to be a people who acknowledge each other's experiences and try to learn more from each other, or, you know, folks who want to shut everybody else up and say that this is, you know, my way of thinking is the only way. We're not going to allow for the experiences of marginalized people to be heard. You know, it's crazy. And if we don't participate in this upcoming election, I'm really afraid for our future.
Join us next time here on part 2 of Real Talk with the Community on Michigan Liberation's Respect the Roots podcast. Until next time.
Michigan Liberation Education Fund, C3, conducts grassroots organizing, leadership development, and civic engagement activities. Michigan Liberation C4 and Michigan Liberation Action Fund, IE, are sister organizations.